Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a really powerful, super concentrated, 70-word philosophical nugget from creator Ian Slade. Now, this isn't some massive dry management textbook. We're looking at a brief, striking epiphany about leadership. We're really going to deconstruct that fundamental shift that happens when a leader stops trying to micromanage every little thing and instead steps fully into the role of a visionary. There's just a world of understanding packed into these few words. Honestly, if you've ever led a team or, if you've ever been on a team that just felt completely stuck in the mud, this is going to resonate deeply with you. Let's get into it.
I think I messed up. Man, what a stark, vulnerable way to kick things off. Instantly, you're hooked. Because, let's be real, how often do you hear a leader actually admit that out loud? We're usually bombarded with these flawless success stories and just endless confidence online. But this begins with a highly relatable admission of a leadership failure. It totally disarms us. By starting right there, with an admission of messing up, we aren't just getting some lofty theory. We're sharing a hard-learned lesson straight from the trenches. It sets this tone of brutal honesty that practically forces us to lean in and ask, okay, what exactly went wrong here?
So let's look at that in Section 1, the danger of control.
So the exact mechanism behind that opening mistake really comes down to the heavy, often well-intentioned, but ultimately destructive trap of micromanagement. The error wasn't a lack of effort. It wasn't a lack of caring. Actually, ironically, the mistake was caring so much that it morphed into this suffocating grip. And as you can see, there's a direct cause and effect at play here. When a leader tries to control every single detail, tightening the reins, demanding constant updates, there is an immediate consequence. The team loses their spark. It's a one-to-one correlation. The sheer desire to control directly extinguishes the team's underlying energy. And we aren't just talking about missing a KPI or dropping a deadline. Losing their spark implies a total loss of passion, creativity, and that crucial intrinsic motivation. Control is basically a bucket of ice water thrown directly on that fire.
And you need strong language to really drive this home. When you focus on control, you actively kill ideas. Kill. It's an aggressive, totally final word. When you're busy controlling every detail, you aren't just slowing down the workflow. You are actively ending the life of new thoughts. Think about it. A team member is absolutely not going to bring a fragile, newly formed idea to a leader who's just going to instantly dissect it for control purposes. The idea basically dies before it's even spoken out loud.
Which brings us to Section 2, Real Leaders Inspire.
Thankfully, we aren't just left sitting in that dark place. We can pivot away from all the agitation and suffocation of control straight into a much more uplifting, forward momentum kind of solution. The text breaks this down into a really clear head-to-head dichotomy. On one side, you have the controller archetype, hyper-focused on managing, which, as we just saw, ultimately kills ideas. But on the flip side, you have the creator archetype. Instead of managing, they focus on making something amazing, leaving the team genuinely free to grow. The contrast here is incredibly stark. It's literally a choice between two entirely different operating systems. It demands that we stop viewing leadership as this purely administrative function and start viewing it as a function of creation.
So, what does that actually look like in practice on a random Tuesday? Well, we're given a very specific, active toolkit. Real leaders inspire by doing three things. They build, they imagine, and they create new ways forward. Notice those verbs? Those are not passive, administrative words. They are the verbs of an artist, an architect, an inventor. A real leader isn't just sitting around maintaining the status quo. They are actively imagining what doesn't exist yet and building a tangible path to get there. They're creating new ways forward, which essentially implies that the old ways, those highly controlled, rigid ways, are just no longer cutting it.
Let's bring it all home in Section 3, Manage Less, Create More. This is where the core problem and the solution synthesize into one crystal-clear directive. It's all about the ultimate goal, empowering a team rather than restricting them. It's about dropping the illusion of control to gain something vastly more valuable. Quote, when you create, your team feels free to grow. What really stands out to me here is the psychological safety this paradigm provides. Notice the phrasing? It doesn't just say your team will grow, it says they feel free to grow. That feeling of freedom is the exact opposite of that suffocating control we talked about earlier. When a leader shifts their own energy into creating, it signals to everyone else that the environment is finally safe for experimentation. The boundaries expand, the team's spark naturally returns because they are finally operating in an ecosystem that's actually designed for growth, not just containment. And this challenges us to totally elevate our baseline expectations. Don't just manage people, make something amazing with your team. In corporate environments, we so often settle for just functional or efficient or, on time. But when you stop merely managing,
When you put down the clipboard and pick up the vision, the output transcends the ordinary. Amazing isn't an accident. It's the natural byproduct of a team that has their spark, feels completely free to grow, and is led by someone who actively builds and imagines.
And it all builds up to this incredible crescendo, distilling the entire philosophy down into 5 definitive words. Remember, leaders who create, innovate. Boom! This directly connects the daily, messy act of creation to the ultimate business holy grail of innovation. You absolutely cannot innovate through micromanagement. You can't innovate by killing ideas before they hatch. Innovation only happens when a leader actively, intentionally chooses the path of creation. It's a bold, declarative statement, and it leaves absolutely no room for ambiguity.
Which brings us to one final, highly provocative challenge. Which one do you want to be? You've seen the devastating effects of the controller, and you've seen the boundless, expansive potential of the creator. The choice rests entirely in your hands. Are you going to hold on so incredibly tight that your team loses their spark? Or are you going to let go, build, imagine, and actually innovate? Reflect on that as you look at your own day-to-day leadership style. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it sparks something amazing in you.